So that kind of leads us to the problem. Now, there's a lot of factors that have led to the obesity epidemic. The main one, though, is that there's this giant mountain of cheap corn that gets processed to where it strips all the nutritional value out of it. And when there's an overabundance of a cheap food, people are going to eat more of it and get fat. And that's sort of what's been happening. But one of the other factors that's leading to this is that we're living what medical researchers call a sedentary lifestyle. The American Heart Association actually defines a sedentary lifestyle as one of the 8 major risk factors for coronary heart disease. And so, let me tell you what their definition of a sedentary lifestyle is, and you can tell me if you have one of the 8 major risk factors for heart disease. You are considered sedentary if you have not worked out consistently for the last 3 months, 3 times a week, 30 minutes per time, at a moderate level of intensity, and done that consistently for 3 months straight. If you haven't done that for the last 3 months, you are indeed, by medical definitions, considered sedentary and have one of the 8 major coronary risk factors. But the problem is that it's become so easy to have a sedentary lifestyle. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, we don't have to cultivate our crops anymore. We don't have to get out and work for it. We don't have to, you know, pick cotton and sew our clothes together. And we always joke about there, kind of look how skinny those kids are. And someone else was like, yeah, and they're like 4 years old. I guess this picture was taken before child labor laws came into effect. But you can get in your car and drive and pick up Taco Bell and eat it there without even getting up. In fact, the average American spends 12 to 15 hours sitting down every single day. And we got great TV shows. It just becomes so easy to do. So that's one of the big factors of the obesity epidemic. Another one is clever marketing. They've been able to, the food Frankensteins, as Derek likes to call them, the scientists, the engineers, take this processed grain and they break it down so much that it literally strips all the nutritional value out of it. And so what you're seeing here, again, in his book, Michael Pollan suggests that if you see a food package that makes health claims on it, you can pretty much be sure that it has no nutritional value to begin with. So you see enriched, 8 essential nutrients, fortified, heart healthy. All this means is they take all the nutritional value out of something, and then to add value, they inject stuff back into it. Okay? And that's what that means. And so it's kind of clever marketing. Some of the other things that clever marketers, food marketers have been doing recently to push more of their product is our serving sizes have gone up dramatically. I want you to see, this is some pictures from 20 years ago of just a few things. 20 years ago, the average bagel was 3 inches in diameter. I mean, I don't really remember. I guess I wasn't eating bagels that much when I was a kid. But now they're 6 inches in diameter on average. That's a difference of 210 calories. Pasta, we're getting twice as much of it on average. It was 1 cup for a serving, now it's 2 cups of pasta with sauce. So next time you go to the Olive Garden and they bring you out your pasta, cut it in half, push half of it off to your plate, and what you have left there is what they would have brought you 20 years ago. It's all they would have brought you. French fries, 2.4 ounces and now 6.9 ounces, a 400 calorie difference. Our pizza slices have gotten bigger over the years. 350 calorie difference. I don't remember a time I got the popcorn that small at the movie theater anytime recently. 20 years ago it was 5 cups, and now 11.
Well, because it's only a quarter more for the big buck.
That's
what they always tell you.
You got 6 free refills.
That's how cheap corn is.
Yeah. Not at the movie theater.
That's exactly, I know, man.
That's why they don't pay those theaters. All they got to do is sell a couple of buckets of popcorn. They're good for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, bread. I've always read where if it says whole wheat, you know, as the first listing, that's the best kind of bread to buy, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but you also want to be sure, and you look, there's, what is there? He talks about in his book a type of bread that's like, the label is white, whole wheat.
Yeah, right. White
bread.
Yeah. See, I like the whole grain white.
Right.
Yeah. You know, you have to look. There's a lot of good tips.
Because my kids won't eat brown bread.
The next people that talk with you will give you some of those. But he talks about some interesting things like if there's more than 5 ingredients, then it's probably not going to be that good for you. And if you have a hard time knowing what one of those ingredients means, you know, like pneumono ultramicroscopic silicovolcanicodia, or what, you know, some giant thing. It's probably not something you want in your body.
Right.
Now this was really eye-opening to me to really show us that we are in fact in the midst of this obesity epidemic. This is a slideshow that just blew me away. It's from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. And what this shows is states reporting what percentage of their population is obese. I'm not talking overweight, I'm talking obese, 30 BMI, a BMI of 30 or more, okay? And so in 1985, the white states here are ones that aren't reporting yet. The light blue states are reporting a population of 10% or less is obese. And the darker blue are reporting 10 to 14% of their population is obese, okay? And this is what our nation looked like in 1985. So as the years go on, more states start to report. Oops. 89, 90, wow. 1991. The first state started reporting that they had 15 to 19% of their population is obese. Now, I look at it this way. This is exactly 215 years from the beginning of our country. It took us 215 years as a nation before even one state had 15% or more of its population is obese. And now look what happens in the next 20 years. All the states are reporting now. In 1997, states start reporting that 20% or more of their population is obese.
Need a new category.
In 2001, Mississippi breaks the mold again with 25% or more. A full quarter of its population is obese. Mississippi. Colorado's still trying to hang on tight.
All that organic, healthy food in Colorado.
Texas hits 25% in 2004. 2005, states are reporting that 30% or more of their population are obese. And we go all the way through 2009, we can see a significant portion of the southeastern United States has 30% or more obese. They say that in the year 2010, that when these results come in, researchers are predicting that 30 of the 50 states will have 30% or more of their population as obese.
So what's Colorado doing?
Colorado.
That's where all the granola people hang out. That's where the tree hugging granola
They're
people.
liars.
Yeah. Looks like Mississippi needs some dietary tips from Colorado.
Oh, they just have bikes everywhere.
There you go. So you can see the amazing, I mean, this opened my eyes in a big way, like, wow, this is really a huge thing.
There's less gravity there, I think.
That's all it is.
It pulls you up.
It's just less gravity.
But it's not just that obesity is bad within itself, but the risk factors, the medical issues that it leads to. All of these things are attributed to by obesity. Heart disease, diabetes type 2. Remember what this used to be called? This type of diabetes?
Blood sugar diabetes.
Adult onset. Remember adult onset diabetes? They had to change it to type 2 diabetes because so many children started having diabetes. In fact, the American Diabetic Association says that of the children born in the year 2000, that 1 in 3 would end up being diabetic as a child. That's how bad it is in our nation right now. High blood pressure, stroke, arthritis, certain forms of cancer, especially breast cancer, prostate cancer, are associated with obesity. Musculoskeletal conditions, poor female reproductive health, and obviously depression as well. You know, diabetes and these people that are in these situations have become such a significant portion of our population that you see all the time. They're targeted for marketing and stuff. So it's really become quite a huge thing. 100 years ago, the things that were killing us were infectious disease processes. Things like malaria, tuberculosis that we couldn't really control. Today, the things that are killing us are heart disease, lung disease, stroke, and cancer. Is that right? Did I get those 4 right? And all of those are preventable. This sort of stuff wasn't preventable, but the things that are killing us now are preventable. In fact, another really eye-opening statistic to me is that 75% of the money that we're pouring into our nation's healthcare system goes towards treating behavior-related preventable diseases. We're spending 3/4 of it treating stuff that didn't ever even have to happen. Okay? Just to kind of show this, today we're spending $147 billion a year on obesity-related costs. All cancers combined, $93 billion a year. And some of those, in fact, are obesity-related. So it really is an epidemic. You know, like I said, you hear that on the news, but that kind of really showed me on how large of a scale that's true. So then let's talk a little bit about wellness. What does wellness have to do with all of this, and where did it come from? And the concept of wellness came about in the mid to late 1970s by a group of forward thinkers who sought to detach health and wellness from its typical medical definition. They saw well-being and health as more than just the absence of illness. See, before, every medical model had looked at, well, you only start getting concerned when the disease, sets in, when the disease manifests itself. But wellness is about looking on the other side of that and saying, how can we keep that from happening in the beginning? And so it focuses more on behaviors. And one of the things that they started doing was looking at these 6 dimensions of wellness. And you see this a lot in wellness circles. Social, occupational, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and physical. And the whole idea behind this is that wellness isn't just a physical thing. It's about finding a balance between these things. And that knowing that if you're unhealthy in one of these areas, that it can affect all the other areas. If you lose your job, the occupational side of things, that can affect you emotionally, spiritually, even physically, with stress levels and things like that. So the whole idea behind wellness is looking at the whole person, the whole being. One of the other illustrations you'll see a lot is Jack Travis came up with this one a while back, and this is the illness-wellness continuum. And the whole idea behind this is that this is kind of where traditional medicine is focused. But we see signs and then symptoms and then disability, and it leads to premature death. We call that the disease-focused model. And that's where employers who foot the bill for the most part for health insurance and for health care coverage have been putting their money. Is in the disease. Once something happens, you start paying for it and you start funding it. But what people are starting to see is if they focus more on the behavior side, where there's awareness and there's education and there's growth, well then you can keep people a lot of times from even crossing over onto this side. And so companies are noticing a pretty large return on investment by putting more of their money into the behavior-focused side of things. But just to show you how bad we are at this still, America's great at treating diseases once they've already manifested themselves. We're one of the best in the world. But we're really bad at practicing prevention. 1% of the money we spend towards the healthcare system goes towards prevention. Remember, like I said, 75% goes towards treating preventable illnesses, but only 1% towards actually preventing them. So something's kind of backwards there. And so that kind of leads you to think about why all this is happening and kind of the importance of it and making choices. And a big part of why all this is happening is that it's become so convenient. It's become so convenient and so cheap to eat unhealthy. It's become so convenient that there's great TV shows on to sit down more than you should. It's just very convenient. It wasn't convenient, 100 years ago. They don't have the same choices that we have now. But today, not only is it convenient to eat unhealthy, it's gotten to the point where it's kind of inconvenient to eat healthy. You have to spend more money on it. You have to spend more time preparing it and all that sort of stuff. But that's not a new concept at all. In fact, this graph is pretty eye-opening to me too. In 1930, people were spending 25% of their household income on average on food. Because of the technological advance we made and the corn revolution and all that sort of stuff, we're spending under 10% on food now. They also spent substantially more time preparing it. I'm sure for most of you, the person that you know that is the best cook in your life is one of your grandmas, right? Well, that's what they did. I was talking with a guy, the salad master, and they go into people's houses and they cook healthy meals for them, and that's how they kind of sell their product and stuff. And he said, we have lost a generation of cooks. It's become so easy to get the TV dinner or to call in the pizza that we've literally just lost a whole generation of cooks. But I wonder, this makes me think, what if we just, did a little experiment and said, all right, I'm going to spend 25%, I don't know how I do this right now, but 25% of my budget on food, and I'm going to spend a couple more hours a day preparing it and cooking it. You burn calories by doing that. I wonder if everybody in America did that, if we'd be in the situation we're in now.